All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Yoga with Lillah. Today's topic is poses and practices, movement principles to do beyond the age of 50. And I think you'll like some of what I'm presenting to you now. It's part of a 12-week live online course that I'm offering starting mid-August. So hopefully this will spark your thinking about how you're practicing yoga and ways that you can adjust it to address some particular needs that you might have. Okay, so one of the things about getting older is that we get stiff. And we get stiff because the fascia contracts through lack of movement. As always, movement is the lubricant, and it's really important to have that movement to keep things flowing. So we're going to start with a principle I call pulsating. So when you pulsate in and out of a pose, you help to soften and open the fascia. So the way to start that, we're just going to start kneeling down on the floor, placing the hands out in front of you, and just simply, I'd like you to curl your toes under and flex your feet to stretch your toes a little bit, and just extend back and forward. Just go back and forth, stretching your hips as far back as they'll go, extending your arms. And by the way, I'm going to try to talk loudly enough. I've been away on vacation and did not have my AirPods charged up. So we're just going to have to go with it this way, back and forth, opening up a little bit. Both the shoulders and the spine and the hips stretching, just pulsating to get some smooth movement. And then go ahead and walk your hands back, curl your toes under, and come to a squat. Now, obviously, this is difficult if you have knee issues and a particularly stiff joints in your feet, but rocking forward and back with your knees is a way to help flex your feet. You do the best you can going back and forth, always honoring the limits of your own body, where your body says, oops, that's enough. And then if you can, bring your hands up onto your knees with your toes curled under and get that good stretch. And then walk your hands out and go ahead and rise up into downward facing dog pose. And then in your downward dog, get a nice extension through the palms of your hands, reaching firmly into the palms, into the earth, raising your hips as high up as you can, and then pressing the top of your thighs back. Now, don't try and take the heels down to the ground too fast. Just rise up and press back, and then lightly pulsate, bending one knee as the opposite heel reaches down, and go back and forth, bending one and then the other. Use your breath, so when both legs are straight, it's an inhale, and as the heel reaches down, it's an exhale, and alternate, inhaling at the top, exhaling down, inhaling up, exhaling down. And repeat several times, and then pause a moment, come down, point your toes straight back, and if possible, sit back on your heels. Now, if that's not possible, you can have a block handy, and you can put the block between your feet and have a seat on the block. And I'm going to come and adjust the camera a little bit. It looks as though on YouTube you may not be able to see my feet. So I'm going to give you a little adjustment. There you go. I'm getting back into the swing of things after a month of vacation time. Here we go. So I'm sitting again. And you might also already feel some opening of the energy in the soles of your feet. And then interlace your fingers out in front, turn your palms out, inhale, raise your arms up overhead. Give a nice lift through the back body as well as the front. And then take the arms down, give a gentle twist in one direction, and then a gentle twist in the other direction, just getting some rotation in your spine. This is very simple movement. All right, so now go back to the pulsing movement. And this time, with the toes curled under, stretch up through your arms. So don't let the shoulders sink down. Stretch up through the arms, and then rock forward a little bit, and then back. So come forward further than before. You feel the flexion in the wrist, sort of pulsing again. If you have any joint injuries, be cautious. Don't hurt yourself. And then bring the chest forward, keep the collarbones lifted high up, and bend the elbows, and down you go. And then push up and come back to child's pose. Again, it's a gentle vinyasa or flowing movement. Exhaling down, inhaling up, and back again. As a way of getting mobility. And this time, because there's resistance, there's another movement principle operating. Because there's resistance in going down, there are some muscles that are contracting and some that are lengthening. So that's what happens in movement. They're called synergistic muscles, the ones that aid lowering down, and antagonistic muscles, the ones that resist. And they're both working in concert with each other. And back up again. It's a wonderful way to really warm up. And then come all the way back. You can rest the head for a moment, knees apart. And then again, come to a comfortable sitting position. You want to, again, there are many ways, and I have many other videos on my channel here on YouTube. There are many ways to modify and use props for different conditions and situations. I happen to have maintained my flexibility for my lifetime, but some of you are not going to sit on your heels, you're going to sit on the block. Others of you are going to need a blanket over your feet to sit, and some are going to need a blanket and a block, or a block and a blanket to be able to go up really, really high for the flexion of the knees and because of the feet. So again, these are the sorts of things that happen in a live class situation, and I just have to mention them here. All right, so let's go ahead and think of some other pulsating movements. I'm going to go ahead and sit for just a moment, cross my legs and sit high enough that your knees are in a good relationship to your hips. So that's about where I am right now. If I sit in swastikasana or siddhasana this way, in siddhasana, my spine is fairly well balanced. And let's do some arm movements. So take the arm, one arm forward and up, grab the elbow, wrap the arm, and raise the arm high up, and feel the extension on the side of the body. Now, why am I rotating the arm? I'm rotating it so that the rotator cuff muscles are in good harmony with each other to go up and down. Often we raise the arm and the muscles are tight, the lats are tight, and it pulls the elbow back, and that hurts sometimes. It pinches the top of the shoulder. You want to wrap around and raise up. And get that nice lift, and then release. So you're teaching your arms actually how to do a better down dog by rotating the arm and bringing the arm straight up and reaching. And then this time, go ahead and tip to the side. So you tip over, get a good side extension, and then back up. And we'll take the other side. Turn the arm completely, raise it up, lift, tip, Feel where the stretch is in the side body. It could be different from side to side. And then back up. And so these are what I call passive or pulsing type movements, where you're reaching, you're going into the pose, stretching for a breath or two, and coming back out. So that's a pulsing action. It's fairly passive, and you're pulsing in and pulsing out. And then let's go ahead and take the right arm back behind you and roll it as my left arm, your right arm. Roll the shoulder back and pin the shoulder blade to your back ribs. And this is sort of a dynamic hold, right? So you hold the position so the fascia through the whole front of the arm can stretch. There happens to be a particular muscle called the infraspinatus, the subscapularis, that are stretching really well in this position. And then release. And then just rotate the arm forward and back and forward and back, forward and back. And then we'll go to the second side. Reach the arm out, take the arm back behind you, roll the shoulder back, lift the breastbone, see if you can pin the shoulder blade to your back ribs. Get that nice stretch in the front of the arm. Again, being careful not to harm yourself if your shoulders are bothering you. If you have any sort of rotator cuff compromise, just go easy. Smooth inhalation and exhalation. So you're sort of pressing. In this position, you're sort of pressing and holding. It's another way of releasing the fascia, giving it some pressure. And then let go and take the arm out to the side. And rotate the shoulder back and the palm back and forward, thumb down, palm back and up, and forward and down, and back and up. There you go. And come back down. And then just shrug your shoulders and roll them back. Shrug them and roll them back. This is real basic stuff. So what I've learned over the years is that we get stiff in some places and we stay flexible in other places. And you can't just expect your body to do a handstand after you've been sitting at the desk all day long. You have to do something to warm the muscles up and get things working. And then do opposite rolls, like a figure 8 roll with your shoulders. One shoulder forward and then the other. And sort of work on that figure 8 and how it connects at the base of your neck. And then do it backwards. Roll one shoulder back and then the other. And keep going. There you go. And then inhale, take both arms up. Again, interlace the fingers, turn the palms, and stretch the arms. And notice if this feels a little more free than it did 5 minutes ago. Just kind of observe that situation. And then exhale and take your arms down and stretch your legs out in front of you. And tighten the knees and release, and tighten the knees and release, and tighten the knees and release to make that knee joint really happy. Yeah, nice tightening and releasing, tightening and releasing. And then just do some circles with your feet. Go one way and then the other way. Wake up your ankles a little bit. So it takes a little longer to get the joints moving again, but it's important that they do get moving. All right, and then slowly come to a standing position. And I'm going to go ahead and get a folding chair. And place it on the center of my mat. And we're going to continue one more time with this pulsing routine where we pulse in and out of poses as part of the action. And it's a very common action in a vinyasa type flow class, because that's sort of a pulsing action and reciprocal inhibition kicks in. The agonist and synergist and antagonist muscles kick in. So it's a fairly common thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn sideways as if we were doing a sideways lunge in the chair and reach the back leg out nice and straight. And then we're gonna turn a little bit to the front. We're going to reach forward and reach back. And then turn the chest and reach forward and reach back. And then continue and then reach up and reach back and reach higher up and reach back and reach higher up and reach low back and reach high up and reach low back. And then lay yourself down on your knee, take your arm forward and extend into Parsvakonasana. So it's a way that the body opens up easily and effortlessly when we pulse. And then go ahead and let's turn to the other side. So again, we have the chair for some support to open the legs nice and wide. And then we're going to return, reach forward and reach back. Reach forward and reach back. And feel the twist of the torso. Reach forward and reach back. And then reach a little higher up and reach back. And higher up and reach back. And keep going. Reach higher up and back. A couple more times. Higher up and back. And then higher up and back. And then lay yourself down on your knee. Swing the top arm forward and up by the ears and rotate into Parsvakonasana. Smooth inhale and exhale. Feel the opening of the spine. And then exhale and release and come back out. And bring your legs together for a moment. Okay, now we're going to add in a twist. So we're going to turn sideways completely. I'm going to raise my arms straight up above my head, twist toward my chair, and turn the belly. Turn the belly and the ribs, making the spine nice and tall. Turn the belly and ribs. And inhale and exhale and release. And turn to the other side. So just pulsing in and out. Again, raise the arms up. Lift the spine up. Exhale, twist. And turn. Turn toward the back of the chair. And you might notice when you breathe in, you kind of untwist a little bit, and then you twist when you go in. So you untwist a little when you inhale, and you exhale, twist when you go in. And then inhale, raise the arms up, and come back to center front. All right, and let's go now to downward facing dog pose. So again, we're going to move the chair out of the way for a moment. And I want you to go to down dog, and we're going to work on some lunges. And if you need a blanket for under your knee, just please put a pad under your knee on your mat, caring for your joints nicely. Fingers spread wide, stretch up, lift the hips nice and high without sinking the heels toward the ground. Press the thighs back, and then maintaining that lift, descend any amount in your feet and your heels. And then from here, we're going to do what I call rocking. You're going to just tip your feet side to side. So roll to one side on your feet and then the other. Turning your ankles, feeling the weight shift from one side to the other. Again, these are pulsing movements to help open up the joint spaces, get some fluid action going. And then inhale in the center, nice big extension, and exhale, down you come. And let's just go in a gentle way and take the right leg forward to a lunge. Let's take the right leg forward to a lunge. And raise your hands up onto the front knee. And in my classes, we're always going to lift the bottom of the belly, keeping contact with the tone of the lower abdomen to support the sacrum and the spine. And then again, you can pulse a little bit in and out, and that's the familiar action, going forward and back. That's the familiar action. It's a ligament action. It's not a muscular action as much as it is sort of a ligament action. And then I'm going to ask you to pause and really press your foot, your back foot into the floor, and lift the bottom of your belly at the same time. And when you do that, you're going to feel something else happen. You're going to feel your glutes begin to contract, and you're going to feel a deeper stretch in the quads in the front of the leg. So this is a more dynamic action because we're creating a contraction on the back to release the front. So it's a nice dynamic action there. And it gives you a deeper stretch in the muscle body and tone on the back side. So stretch in the front and tone in the back. And then hands down, straighten the back leg, go to downward facing dog pose. So even though this is not a full official type of yoga practice, we want to just kind of embrace some ideas. So on the second side now, go ahead and press the front foot, curl the tail, lift the belly, hands up on the front knee. And inhale. And as you exhale, just pulse a little bit in and out. Find out if you're in the center of your thigh when you go forward and back. So opening up through the center of the bone, center of the joint. And then after pulsing, stop, pause, and again, with an exhale, press the rear foot firmly into the floor. Lift the bottom of the belly so you get that dynamic stretch in the front of the thigh because you've contracted the posterior muscles. So the back of the leg and buttocks contract, and it helps to release the front. It's a classic dynamic action. It's reciprocal inhibition. So you have your antagonistic muscles and your synergistic muscles. And then exhale, down you come, straighten your back leg. And go back to downward facing dog pose. And this time we're going to go from down dog to Vashisthasana. So press your hands into the palms, lift the hips up nice and high. And then you're just going to tip onto the sides of your feet, press the bottom hand down, and extend the top arm up. So you have a nice Vashisthasana. And then come back to your downward facing dog pose. Keep the hips up nice and high, activate the legs. Raise the head slightly so you're looking at your palm, and then turn your feet and take the opposite arm up. Keep your hips up nice and high. Come back to center. Downward facing dog pose. Think about what just happened. Let's do it one more time. So it's a toning pose. Rock to the side and take the arm up. And then back to center. Downward dog. Last time, second side. Tipping the feet, raising the arm. Back to center, and downward dog. And then inhale, exhale, knees down. Come back to child's pose, open the knees slightly, and come to child's pose. And then again, come to sitting position. So it's nice that warming pose to balance like that on the arms and sort of get that stimulation on the arms. Now let's go ahead to something that's called seated traction twist. And I'll demonstrate from the side. You fold one leg back, so nice gentle fold at the knee. Fold one leg back into position.
Yes.
And then put the other foot in position. Oh, something happened. Hold on. Technical difficulty. All right, here we go. We had a little technical difficulty there. So folding the legs straight back alongside of you, taking the other arch of the foot, putting it against the knee like a cup and saucer, and then lift up and tuck the hip under just slightly. From here we're going to rotate. So I'm going to lift my right hip up and rotate around and place my hands on the floor. From this position, you're going to feel some stretch, hopefully in the front of your leg. You've got to pull your belly in to turn, and just make a gentle turn to start. Notice where the resistance is in the top of the thigh and the lower belly, and we're going to see if we can get that to move a little bit. And how we're going to do that is we're going to make an action where the muscle contracts further. So this is contract to release. So I find the point of resistance, and then I'm going to pull my knee, my right knee, toward my belly, so it's going to push into my left foot. I'm going to pull it toward my belly and hold it for 5 counts. And then let it go and see if I turn further. Pause, find the resistance, pull the knee into the belly, pull the bottom of the belly in and up, turn lightly, and then release. And see what happens. So out you come. Let's do side 2. When I can look at you, what you're doing. I'm going to fold the opposite leg in. Bring my knee to my foot. Lift that hip up. Begin to turn and walk around. Stop at the point of resistance. And when I feel the resistance in the front of the leg and hip, I'm going to pull in the knee into the sole of the foot and exhale, release. So pull it in, make everything contract, hold it for a count of 5, and then release, and then pull in and hold it for a count of 5, and then release, and pull in and hold it for a count of 5 and release, and see if some of the tension leaves the front of the hip. So that's working with the stretch reflex. I'll put some notes in the show notes down below of some other videos of mine you can watch that may describe that in a different way with a different pose that might make it more clear. But thank you so much for joining me for this short half hour to just kind of explore some pulsing, some dynamic action, and some contract and release. All these principles I use on a regular basis to keep my body extremely fluid and balanced. So thanks for watching. Namaste. Until we meet again.